A great way to enhance a video game is to add a score feedback, such as +1 or +2 or plus the number of points. Now, we can do this multiple ways. We can add a text to be able to do that, or we can do it in Photoshop. It's up to you at this point. What I'm going to do right now is just using Unity straightforward. So I'm going to go inside of Unity and create a text to be able to do that. And I'm going to just go ahead and do that. But by the way, this text needs to be inside of an object. So it cannot be a UI object. It has to be a game object. So you'll have to right click and create a 3D object. And here you'll have to create a 3D text. All right, and here is the 3D text in the back. I can see it. If I go to the game, I can double click on it. And now we can see it. It says hello world. That's not what we want to say, but that's not a problem. We can just select the text and say +1. Here we go. Now it says +1. Now what we can do is increase the character size to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And let's make it to the center. So put middle center. Okay, excellent. And what we want to do is also give it a color. So let's put it yellow. Yellow is usually a good color for whenever we want to give extra points. All right, +1. Now if you go in the game, we see it +1 here. It might be a bit too big, so we might want to make it smaller, but that's not a problem. We can definitely work with that. Let's put it at the position 0, 0 to start with. All right, and let's make it smaller. So the scale, let's put it at 0.5 and 0.5. All right, that looks better already. Cool. All right, so now that we have this, by the way, you can change the font. Right now it's Arial, and it might not be great, but you can add new fonts here and change them. Right now I don't have any other fonts, so I will be using this one. But again, you can always download the font. You can go to Google Chrome, and then on Google Chrome you can go to DaFont. Let me show you right here, dafont.com, and you can download some fonts. Now some of them have copyright issues, so you may have to pay for it whenever it's for commercial, or you can just use it for free if it's just for yourself. Right, so let me look for a cool font. I'm just going to type cool and see what comes out of it. All right, I'm going to look for one that's 100% free. All right, and I will go with this cool bold. Now, the way you'll have to do is click on download, and the font is getting downloaded. Now you just click on it and take the coolbold.ttf, drag and drop it and add it inside of Unity game. All right, I'm going to put it in my assets. All right, and now I can see the font. Let's see, it's supposed to be in one of these. Let me change the way it looks so that it's easier to see. And yep, here it is. You guys see it? Cool bold. So the way you would use that is by selecting it inside of the new text and change the Arial and select the cool bold instead. All right, here it is. Now it's a little bit blurry, and the way you could do to enhance that is to select the cool bold and change the font size to something that's bigger and then make it smaller. So let's say you can put it to 50, press enter and apply, and now you see it's a lot bigger, and now you can make it smaller by selecting the new text and putting the scale to 0.1, and that makes it a lot smoother. All right, and I can see the +1 is a lot smoother. Now it might be a bit too small, so I'm going to go with 0.2. All right, pretty good. Now what we want to do is animate this. So first of all, let's make a prefab out of this. Let's call this new text. Let's call it +1 prefab. Right, so we have the +1 prefab. Now I'm going to go inside of my prefab folder, and I'm going to drag and drop the +1 prefab. All right, so now I have my +1 prefab. My next step is to actually know when to spawn this. So I can remove that +1 prefab, and just I'm going to unselect it to remove it. And this needs to happen whenever we score a +1 in the points. And the manager has the manager references. So double click on the manager references, and then you will look for the score. All right, so let's look for score, Command F score, and we see that the score is at 0. So keep pressing enter, and we see the increased score. So whenever we have the increased score, now is the time to actually put the +1. And how are we going to do this? Well, we can just spawn it here, right? So let's spawn it. We're going to do score. So let's get a reference to it. How do you get a reference to it? Well, you don't really need one because we know the name of it, so we can just get it. So game object. So let's call it +1. Let's call it +1 is equal to, and now we're going to spawn it by name. It's probably easier to just have a reference to it. So I'm going to go above and just add a reference. Public game object +1 score. And now let's assign it. So I'm going inside of Unity and I'm going to assign it. I'm going to select the +1 score. By the way, it says I have an error. Yes, because I'm not finished. So it's not going to work till I fix that. So I'm going to just comment this out and save meanwhile. All right. And now the next step is to actually select the +1 and add it. So let's look at the +1 prefab. Inside of my prefab, the +1 is right there and I'm going to assign it. So I need to select the manager and locate the +1 score right here. And I'm going to drag and drop it there. So take the +1 prefab, drag and drop it there. Cool. Now that it's there, I can use it right now. So I'm going back to MonoDevelop. And here, that's when I'm going to instantiate it. Now you guys should be familiar with instantiating that because we've instantiated object earlier. Let's go ahead and do this. Instantiate. Then what we want to instantiate is the object name, which is called +1 score. And then where do we want to instantiate this? Well, we want to instantiate this exactly where the sphere is, where we just got the sphere. So that's the position of the sphere, which is ball, or I believe it's called sphere here. Let's double check. Player sphere, yes, that's it. Player sphere dot transform dot position. And then we need the quaternion, which was just the identity. Quaternion dot identity. All right, that's for the rotation. We don't want any rotation. That will do. Let's save that. And now let's take a look at what we have. Going back to Unity, I'm going to press play. And let's see now, each time I'm going to score, let's see what happens. Wait, I got to go through blue, so I'm going to wait for blue. All right, blue's coming. Here we go, +1. Okay, excellent. So you guys saw the +1? It's pretty good, but there's a few problems. It's behind, so we want it in front of it. And then we want it to disappear. We don't want it to just stay there, right? So let's work on doing that. All right, so first thing, to put it in front of all the other objects, what we need to do is select the +1 prefab and change the z-axis from 0 to, let's say, 1000. All right, so that's taken care of. Good. Now, the next step is to make it disappear. How do you going to make this disappear? Well, we need to create some kind of a way to make this fade out. So let's create a new script to make this fade out. So add component on the +1 prefab. Let's call it fade out script. All right, and create and add. Cool. Now let's open it and let's work on the logic. So in the update, what we're going to do is make it fade out. But first we need a speed. So public void, float speed is equal to, let's say, 0.01 f. Okay, so that's going to be the speed. Now the next step is to the update. So in the update, we're going to work on the color by taking this current color. So if we select in Unity the +1 prefab, we see that it already has a color. So we can get the color from the text mesh. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go color is equal to this dot get component. That will be the text mesh. All right. Dot color. Okay, so now that we have the color, let's change it. We can do this dot get component dot color is equal to new color, and this color would be the same as the color that we have, but we would change the alpha transparency. So the R would be color dot R, then the G would be color dot G, then the B for blue would be color.blue, and then the alpha would be color.alpha times 0.9. Why 0.9 or 0.9f? Because it's going to decrease it by 10% each time. All right, let's save this, and now we can just press play and we'll be able to see that in action. Okay, so I'm going to press play and pause right away. Why? So that we can see on the scene. I'm going to remove that, and let's click on the +1 prefab. Now I'm going to stop that, and you guys saw that? It just disappeared. So we kind of like see it, but it did disappear. So now I'm going to press play, and let's see if we can see it in action. So I'm going to wait for the green. Well, I just lost, so let me do it again. Green. Well, one more time. Green. All right, so you guys see the +1? It appeared and disappeared. Let's do it one more time. Blue. All right. Now, a few things is that the +1, we want it to be a little bit above so that we can see it better. That's not a problem. We can definitely add to the position. So let's change the position of that by going inside of MonoDevelop, inside of whenever it's getting instantiated, which is the manager references. Here, the position, let's change the position. So I'm going to cut this and say position or vector3 new pause for the position. New pause is equal to new vector3, and this would be transform the position dot x, then player sphere dot transform dot position dot y plus, let's go with 0.5 so that it's 0.5f higher, and then the z doesn't change. All right, so I guess the z, we can change the z here. We can make the z a lot closer. So let's go with 1000 here. All right, and now let's add it here, new pause. Okay, now let's save this and let's give it a shot. So that should be above. Let's go and see this. 0.5 might not be enough or might be too much. Let's see. Well, we're going to need to remove that, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to wait for the blue. Here it is. Let's go. Well, we didn't even see the +1. Did you guys see it? I did not. So there's something definitely wrong with the position. So I need to work on that. So maybe the +1 was just not good enough. That's okay. We can definitely change that. Yep, I cannot see the +1. So let's see what's wrong with it. If it were somewhere to change, there would be this plus 0.5. So let's remove that for now. And let's save and see if that's what it was. If that's what it is, then we'll have to play with it and see what's the best way of doing that. Right, I'm going to press play. And let's see, waiting on blue. Oh, missed it. Let me try again. Green. Can't see it. So there's definitely something wrong with the position. Okay, so we'll have to fix that. All right. So the position is wrong. That's probably the player sphere, so that's okay. I can just change this 1000 to Z. Let's see. Let's save and let's try. Play. Waiting on yellow. Yep, that's definitely the Z that was wrong. So we're going to leave the Z at the way it is and just change the player sphere transform on the y-axis and add plus, let's add a plus 0.5. I believe that would be just fine. 0.5f. All right, let's try this out. Pressing play. So at this point, it's a lot of tweaking. It's up to you now. If you want to put it somewhere else, go ahead and put it somewhere else. You know, you don't have to put it at the same spot. Yes, so the +1 looked already better, right? You guys see that? The +1 looks amazing, actually. All right, so let me wait and go. Yep, very good. All right, yes, the +1 is actually perfect. It looks amazing. Did you guys see that? How it just went? All right. Red, let's see. Maybe I can go through this one. So I'm just like playing at this point. Yep, it's working great. So I'm going to just stop it here. And that's it. So now the score looks great. And take this +1 prefab and hide it. So go to the inspector and just deselect it. Alright, don't forget to save.